Welcome to Velvet's reality. As you may have already assumed, they call me Velvet. Today, we're going to take a look at Moss VR. We're going to look at the pros, the cons, and whether or not you should buy Moss VR in 2020. Now, before we begin, Moss VR is $29.99 on Steam. It's an action-adventure puzzle game, and it has a third-party setting, which means you control a character that's not you while you're in VR. When you start this game up, it starts in a cathedral library-type building of fanciness, and you have the Book of Moss in front of you. You open the book and you start going through the pages, and it pulls you into the game world where you meet Quill the mouse, who's going to be your companion for the rest of this journey. And yes, she's a mouse.
Nice and easy, Quill. We got this. Right across the rusted sub. No! No, Quill, don't go! Don't die on me. Okay, all better.
Now to our pros and cons. We're going to start off with pros, since that's the first word that I said in the statement. Number 1. The graphics in this game are absolutely stunning. As you go through this world with Quill, you'll see deer off to the distance. You'll have a little rusted axe off to the side, and the graphics and detail they put into each aspect of this really helps immerse you in the game. And it really just makes it feel more fluid. Number 2. The story in this game was extremely well written. The voice actress delivers it perfectly, and it makes it really hard to stop playing. When I first started playing in VR, I only played about 20-minute stints at a time. And when I first got Moss, I played for 2 hours straight on back-to-back days. I simply could not stop playing this game. And a lot of that had to do with the story. Number 3. The combat in Moss, though extremely simplistic, and by simplistic you really have 3 commands. You have attack, dodge, and jump. Yet the combat was quite dynamic. And an aspect of that had to do with the fact that you were doing a lot of the combat while working with different puzzle aspects. But even without that, the combat was challenging throughout the entirety of the game, and kept you intrigued as you played. Which brings us to number 4, which would be the puzzles. I have mixed things to say about the puzzles. The puzzles were really good. They were really enjoyable. The functionality to it and the fact that you had to do it during the combat made the puzzles a blast. But they weren't the most challenging, which might not be a negative, because it would have really sucked to get to a puzzle I simply couldn't figure out and had to quit the game because I couldn't figure it out. But it would have been nice to see a setting of some kind that would have let for more difficult puzzles as you played through the game. But nonetheless, the puzzles were really good, and they were really enjoyable. Number 5. The game being in the third-party setting, as it is, allows you to play seated, allows you to stay relaxed, and prevents any VR sickness as you're playing. So if you're new to VR, this is a great game to get started with. You won't feel any sickness as you're doing it. You'll be able to stay seated and stay relaxed so your legs can relax, and just play casually from a chair, which is a great aspect, especially when you're first starting to play. Now we're going to move on to the cons. To be honest, I don't have a lot of bad to say about this game, but the biggest one I have is kind of twofold. So number 1 is the price tag. It's $29.99, which in this day and age is not a bad price for a video game. However, there was about 4 hours of gameplay the first time I played through, which is not great. It's not uncommon in VR, but just because it's not uncommon in VR doesn't mean I don't have a complaint about it. The game should have been longer. It would have been really great for this to be a longer game. I will say they added the Twilight Garden expansion shortly after, which added about 30 to 45 minutes of content, I think. And that does help, but it still doesn't correct that the game is far too short for how much I paid for it. Number 2 would be the puzzles. Again, I would have liked them being difficult. Other than that, I don't have much else bad to say about this game. Now, whether or not this game is worth buying in 2020 really comes down to one question, and it's the type of player you are. If you tend to skip through stories, if you tend to just try to get through games quickly, this game is too short for you. It's still a lot of fun. The combat is still engaging, the puzzles are still a blast, but it's too short for the money, if that's what you're looking for. If you like story, if you're going to get engrossed in the world and enjoy the scenery as you're listening to the story be told to you, this game is fantastic, and I would highly recommend it. Even with my complaints of it being too short, I would still recommend this game if you like story when you're playing a game. And Moss delivers a great story, and it delivers it well. Hopefully, this video can be helpful to anyone looking at Moss in 2020 or after. If anyone has any questions or comments, please let me know.
Don't fall off the roof. Walking super slowly because we don't want to fall off the roof. What do we not want to do? We don't want to fall off the roof. I wonder if you can swim. Nope.